Thank you so much, Mohammed, for joining us today. So, the Israeli war on Gaza has killed more journalists over the past year than any other conflict over the past 3 decades. What has it meant for you to be a journalist covering the genocide?
Well, first of all, as a Palestinian journalist and writer from Gaza, like covering this um, almost a year now of genocide in Gaza meant that I was bearing witness to the unimaginable suffering of my people and myself at the same time, um, managing the conflicting demands of professional responsibility and also um, personal safety as well, trying to escape the constant threats and constant targeting of journalists and media personnel in Gaza. And it meant also documenting like the destruction of homes of the whole city, witnessing the devastation, the death of children, also the loss of entire generations. I have not been reporting on these events only, but I've been part of them. Even in exile now, I can't detach myself from the tragic reality that has been going on in there. Um, every because I'm also a survivor of the same very events that are happening still on a daily basis in Gaza. So every time I think I write about a bombed hospital or like a family killed in an airstrike, I think of my own self. I think of my own survival and my family as well. Um, like the separation between the professional and the personal disappears in Gaza, more particularly during the latest um, war, especially when you live under the constant threat of death yourself as a journalist as well.
Your family evacuated Gaza just a few months ago. Can you briefly walk us through the journey to Egypt?
Escaping Gaza and fleeing the war has provided me with a degree of physical safety, I would guess. But the challenges did not end with that. They do not end with fleeing. I left, so did my family behind. Like everything, we left our bombed home. We left close friends and loved ones and colleagues, and we left our entire community in Gaza. Um, Back there, I was at the heart of the story, but now in Egypt, um, I'm basically an outsider looking in. This feeling of exile has forced me to abandon so much, but it also equipped me with the knowledge that I have to be alive first to be able to report on what's happening. The feeling also of being disconnected by distance from Gaza and from my people is one of the hardest feelings like to cope with right now. Because I carry with me the weight of the stories that I left behind. And every day I wake up feeling like I'm failing my people. But at some point, it is a privilege to be doing the work that I've been doing there and continue my voice and to continue demanding for the voices of the people that are enduring the struggles of famine, of displacement, of indiscriminate bombing. So it's not only the professional responsibility that forced me to evacuate, but also the sense of duty to my people to be able to carry on the message and also be able to speak on their behalf, even from exile, and hopefully end the suffering that they're being subjected to.
For you and other Palestinians who have fled to Egypt, what challenges do you face on this side of the border?
I mean, like as a journalist in exile right now, we face the constant challenge of remaining relevant, of ensuring that my voice doesn't fade. I mean, in Gaza, I could capture the immediacy of events, but in exile, I rely on, like, I would say, secondhand information, which can feel inadequate sometimes. But I continue no matter what, because even from afar, the stories of Gaza, like to me, they deserve to be told. They must be told. There is also the challenge of maintaining access to sources, like navigating censorship and even the limitations on movement and reporting as a freelance journalist from exile.
And you've touched on this a little bit, but you've continued to write extensively since arriving in Egypt, What message are you hoping to get out?
More generally, I would say like journalists in Palestine should not be collateral damage, and they are not, like, because we are systematically being targeted because we carry the stories that challenge the, I would say, the official Israeli government narratives. In Gaza, I mean, being a journalist also is one of the most dangerous jobs because the press vest on our chests is marked with a red target, according to the Israeli military. It does not provide the protection that we deserve or should have. Press buildings are being bombed, reporters are shot at, and many of us marked um, for assassination simply because we are documenting the truth. Um, and I think like we wanted also to let the world know that for Israel, controlling the narrative is also as important as controlling the territory because documenting what's happening on the ground does not align with the interests or the plans of the Israeli military to strike at the trenches of liberation and human rights of the Palestinian people. So the targeting is deliberate. It's a way to silence the story. As journalists, I mean, we carry the cameras, not guns, but in the eyes of those who seek to hide the truth, we are a threat. And that's unfortunately the reality that we are trying also to deliver to the outside world. I've been, if I would were like to reflect on a personal incident that struck me in Gaza. I mean, I've been targeted myself. I've had bombs like fall near the buildings where I've worked. My house has been targeted only to cease my reporting and stop writing. I've been on the lists of journalists considered dangerous simply for reporting what we see. And I've lost friends and colleagues like of mine who have been killed doing this work. It's a terrifying reality, but despite the risks, like we have to continue, and we do. There is a saying in Gaza, like to tell the truth is to risk your life, and that's exactly what applies to the reality in there. It is true, but we take that risk because the world needs to see the reality that is Gaza.
Thank you, Mohammed, for sharing, not only as a journalist, but also as a Palestinian impacted by the genocide.